BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager who's managing over $10 trillion worth of assets. Currently, they're making massive moves in the crypto space that could change everything. Some say that BlackRock's involvement in Bitcoin is like a death sentence. Is it really possible to take control of the one thing that was meant to be decentralized? And if so, is it time to sell? In this video, I'm going to break down the evil plan that some believe BlackRock is cooking up. I'm going to share how it will impact Bitcoin's future and whether it's time to sell right now or not. This could be one of the most important decisions to make this bull market cycle, so pay close attention. My name is Mitchell Wireman and welcome to this brand new video here on my channel. Please help me out. I've got a favor to ask you. Smash the like button because it will help me to reach more people like you that enjoy watching videos like this one where I break down complex stuff that's happening in the market, that's happening in the financial industry, and break it down into simple and easily to digest bits and pieces so that you can get an edge as a crypto investor in the market. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to also subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be posting regularly throughout this crypto market cycle, post useful tutorials, breakdowns, and videos that will help you to make sense of everything that's going on and to help you to make well-informed decisions. Now, let's dive in. Will BlackRock kill Bitcoin and is it time to sell? So recently, BlackRock reached a very impressive milestone. Earlier this year, it announced its Bitcoin spot ETFs, which went into the books. They broke all records as the fastest growing Bitcoin spot ETF in history. And they've been buying up lots of Bitcoin behind the scenes. Right now, they're holding around 370,000 Bitcoin. And it has already surpassed Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, which is also holding a lot of Bitcoin right now. And the only two entities that hold more Bitcoin are Satoshi Nakamoto, who owns approximately 1 million Bitcoin, and Binance, the crypto exchange. So we see that BlackRock, so here's a chart of BlackRock's buying behavior. We see that BlackRock has been accumulating more and more and more Bitcoin over time. And here in this chart by Crypto Rover, he states that if BlackRock continues with this pace of buying, then in 2026, they will own 1 million Bitcoin. And if you don't know, or if you need to be reminded, the maximum supply of Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation is 21 million Bitcoin. So to have one entity own 1 million Bitcoin is quite a significant chunk of the supply. And holding such a big chunk of the supply gives you quite a lot of power, because if you suddenly dump all of it, then you dump the entire market and you can make very big price swings in the market. So yeah, that's a downside risk, of course. Here's another tweet by Quinton, which, he stated that BlackRock just released a very pro-Bitcoin report. The largest asset manager on the planet understands the importance of Bitcoin. This is so totally unreal. Yeah, so not that long ago, BlackRock announced a report or released a report in which it really sold its readers on Bitcoin and the importance of Bitcoin. And this is indeed completely unprecedented, because not that long ago, many institutions, banks, governments were completely against Bitcoin. And now we're seeing that a company with such a strong track record and so much credibility and so much influence is really putting their entire reputation and marketing team behind Bitcoin. So that is very interesting to see this shift happening. BlackRock now controls 2% of the Bitcoin supply. Again, so that's quite a lot for one single entity to do so. And it seems like they keep on buying more and more and more, and that this percentage will only go up. And this final news article that I wanted to share with you is regarding the fact that BlackRock is now a major shareholder in 4 out of the 5 largest publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. So in many different ways, BlackRock is now actively getting involved in Bitcoin. They are buying up Bitcoin. They have launched Bitcoin products, mainly their Bitcoin spot ETF. They are publishing very positive Bitcoin reports, and they are also buying into Bitcoin mining companies. They are basically getting involved into the entire Bitcoin ecosystem and supply chain. So briefly, who is BlackRock? Well, BlackRock is the largest asset manager with over $10 trillion worth of assets. If you look at the assets under management of BlackRock from 2008, so after the previous financial crisis up till now, you see that it has grown very significantly. Actually, it grew a lot after 2008 because it performed a lot better than other funds, which attracted a lot more assets under management. And it grew very rapidly in the past decade to the point that if you look at the assets under management, so $10 trillion, I believe only the economies of the United States and China are bigger in terms of GDP. So if BlackRock would be a country, it would be the third largest country in the world. That's how big this company is, and that's how much assets under management it has. So BlackRock is known as a company that owns the world. Literally, they control everything from the pharmaceutical companies to the news to tech companies. Here's a chart that shows BlackRock's top 25 holdings. So if we look at the different sectors, we see IT, so they own Apple, they own a lot of Nvidia, a lot of Microsoft, a lot of Broadcom. If we look at healthcare, they got positions in Johnson & Johnson, United Health Group and other companies. Consumer discretionaries, Amazon, Tesla, Home Depot, communications, Google, different classes of stocks, Meta, finance, they own banks, they own MasterCard, so credit card companies, MasterCard and Visa, but also consumer staples like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, energy, ExxonMobil, Chevron, spot ETFs. So they own a lot of different verticals. And one thing which is important to note is within these verticals, they're not shown over here because comparatively it's a lot smaller industry, but they also own a lot of media companies. So here's an article, how a company called BlackRock shapes your news, your life, and thus your future. In this article, it's explained that BlackRock owns very large positions in these media conglomerates like Time Warner, Comcast, Disney, Viacom, and all of these media conglomerates own a lot of the smaller publications or media outlets like CNN, Cartoon Network, NBC, ESPN, you name it. So BlackRock has a lot of influence in how the news is created and what news is actually broadcasted. So if you go on the internet right now, on some of the biggest media outlets, you start to notice that a lot of the news that they're posting is just simply copy-pasted with a few slight differences from each other. There's very little independent media reporting out there. Most of it you'll find on X. So X is still a platform where individual media reporters actually post what they're believing and what they're observing. But in the mass media, it's nowadays just copy paste. And the company who many people believe is creating the news and is creating the narratives that we see in the news is BlackRock. That's a company that owns and influences the world through also its public perception that it's creating through all of these media outlets. Now that you know a little bit about BlackRock's background, the question that we need to ask ourselves is BlackRock going to kill Bitcoin? And in order to answer that question, we first need to look at how Bitcoin works. Compared to the traditional financial system, where we have a lot of banks, so banks are very centralized entities. So you have a company with a management, with CEO, CFO, and they make all of the decisions. It's very hard to really see what's going on within the bank. So there's also a lot of fraud that's happening within those banks. If you don't believe me, you can Google it. You can, you'll find tons of different cases where banks need to find big need to pay big fines because they helped drug cartels to launder money, or they've committed fraud in some kind of cases. So there's a really lack of trust in the traditional financial system, and it's open and public. And that's the reason why Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a decentralized monetary system and decentralized payment network, meaning that you don't need intermediaries like banks, governments, institutions, notaries, lawyers. You can simply send Bitcoin from one wallet to another wallet without anyone intervening or without having to ask permission to anyone else. And how is it that this is possible? Well, you can only do transactions on the Bitcoin network because of the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin miners are individuals and companies that own specialized pieces of hardware where they install software. And through this hardware and software, they process transactions on the network, and they earn a commission for every transaction that happens on the network. So one of my companies, Epic Mining, is a Bitcoin mining company. We actually manage 80,000 Bitcoin mining machines for ourselves and our customers. And here behind me, you see some of these mining machines. So they're specialized computers created for one purpose, which is to mine Bitcoin, to process transactions on the network, and to do that in the most efficient way. And as long as there will be miners, there will be Bitcoin, because we are the banking system of Bitcoin. So so as long as there will be miners, there will be Bitcoin. That's something really important to understand. And Bitcoin is something that keeps on evolving over time. You should see this, or you should understand this in the following way. When Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin or launched Bitcoin in 2009, Bitcoin is nothing else than a piece of code which was deployed on the internet. But it is possible to change this piece of code. And we change, we adopt, we evolve Bitcoin over time. And we do that through something that we call the Bitcoin Improvement Proposals, BIPs in short. And miners can actually vote on these BIPs, on these Bitcoin Improvement Proposals. It's almost like a democracy. When there's a new BIP, miners can vote, and whenever there's a majority vote, then a BIP gets accepted, and and then the protocol gets changed. But without a BIP being approved, nothing can be changed in the Bitcoin code. So how does it work? How do these BIPs work? Well, first, someone creates a BIP. So the Bitcoin community is quite large. There's a lot of investors, academics, there's a lot of talented individuals, coders. Everyone can propose a BIP to the Bitcoin community. It will then be discussed by the community. And when there's some critical mass, so when there's more people believing that this might actually be beneficial for Bitcoin and Bitcoin's future, then it will undergo an extensive review process by different stakeholders, so developers, experts, community members, and then it gets proposed for voting. So then miners can vote on this BIP, and then when there's a majority vote, then it will be accepted and it will be implemented. And here within the GitHub repository, where you can see all of the code and all of the changes and all of the nodes to the official Bitcoin code, you see all of these BIPs. So BIP 0001, BIP 0002, BIP 008. So all of these are actually added to the code. So not all of them are actually approved. So you see it went from BIP 1 to BIP 2 to BIP 8, 9. So whenever there's a vote on a BIP, only the ones that get accepted are added to Bitcoin's code. So that is how Bitcoin evolves over time. Now, I wanted you to understand this background information so that we can answer the following question. In what ways can BlackRock control Bitcoin? So there's a few strategies. The first strategy is that Bitcoin, why do I keep saying Bitcoin? BlackRock will buy up more Bitcoin miners. So we already saw news that BlackRock is already a major shareholder in 4 out of the 5 largest publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. Now, the question that you can ask yourself is the reason that BlackRock is doing this is because they want to have more voting power in the network. Again, like I said, miners are like the banking system of Bitcoin, and miners can vote on the future direction of Bitcoin. And when BlackRock owns more of these Bitcoin mining companies, it can exert more voting power in these voting sessions. So it could actually try to influence Bitcoin's protocol and change its code and its dynamics in a way that's more favorable for itself. So that could be one of the ways how Bitcoin or how BlackRock is trying to influence Bitcoin. The second strategy that BlackRock could implement is buying up a large percentage of the supply. And actually, this is already in play. BlackRock currently owns around 370,000 Bitcoin. Now, how are they able to influence the market by holding so many Bitcoin? Well, if you're holding so much Bitcoin, then you can do a few different things. If you sell a lot of your Bitcoin at the same time, you can really crash the market. And again, investors in the market are very emotional. So when they see that the market dumps in a very short period of time and it goes down a lot, then they start to panic and also start to sell all of their positions, and then the market goes even lower. And this could actually be a strategy that BlackRock could implement, because it could create a massive sell-off, which allows them to scoop up more cheap Bitcoin at a much lower price. So holding such a large proportion of the supply gives them the ability to manipulate the market by buying or selling large chunks of Bitcoin all at the same time. So that's the second strategy. The third strategy could be that BlackRock acquires majority stakes in some of the largest exchanges. So right now, this isn't the case yet, but it could be a play that BlackRock could look into if they want to gain more control over Bitcoin. So why would this give them more control? Well, you can almost see this like a bank. When an exchange, a centralized exchange like Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, when they own these platforms, they first of all gain a lot more insights and useful data over how people transact on the network, but they also gain the possibility of censoring certain individuals or companies from transacting on the platform. And this could cut them off from the network. So that's why I personally don't make use of a lot of centralized exchanges. I prefer to put my Bitcoin and crypto on ledgers, on cold storage wallets, so that there's no centralized entity that can exert control over what I'm doing with my funds or not. But this could be a play for them to gain more data and control over users on the platform. Also, it could allow them to gain more voting power or more control over what crypto projects are listed on certain exchanges or not. So if they are holding certain crypto projects themselves, maybe it's in their own best interest to list projects on that exchange or not, or delist competitors, something like that. So that could be one of the reasons why BlackRock could be acquiring major exchanges. And why did I list these two here on my screen, Coinbase and Gemini? Because Coinbase and Gemini are like the good kids of the class in the US market. So they are working very well with the regulators. They try to implement everything properly so that the regulators cannot attack them, and they want to work with regulators to create a regulatory framework. And especially Coinbase has been doing a really great job in that process. So for a big company like BlackRock, it would probably make sense for them to acquire one of those exchanges that work really well with the regulators, because that's important for them and their investors too. Binance, on the other hand, recently got sued because they were trying to find loopholes in and around the US regulatory system. So that would be a red flag for a company like BlackRock to do business with a company. Now, the fourth strategy is to get involved in shaping the regulatory framework. So BlackRock is a very powerful company. They are intertwined with the government. In fact, many governments around the world are making use of BlackRock's suite of software and AI tools. The best one is known as Aladdin. Aladdin is BlackRock's AI tool, which it has been building for the past decades, and Aladdin has so much data points from the stock market, the bond market, the real estate market, that it has become the most intelligent AI platform in the financial space. So many governments are making use of this tool to shape their policy. And BlackRock has really great ties with the government and other politicians. So it has a lot of influence in trying to shape the framework in ways that would benefit itself. Larry Fink is also part of the WEF, the World Economic Forum. So it's sitting with other politicians, but also other big business tycoons and other influential people. And they try to shape a political agenda for the next few decades. And again, it could try to exert its influence there to turn the regulations into something that's more favorable for itself. Finally, market manipulation. So that's the fifth strategy. So BlackRock seems to be manipulating the Bitcoin price in anticipation of the ETF approval. So BlackRock could manipulate the market in many different ways. For example, what I mentioned before, it could dump a lot of the Bitcoin, a lot of its Bitcoin holdings all at the same time to crash the market, or it could buy a large volume of Bitcoin all at the same time to pump the markets. But it also owns a lot of the media companies, so they could also shape the news by publishing very positive or negative articles about Bitcoin, which could cause a lot of greed or fear in the market. So there's many different ways that BlackRock could influence the positive or negative perception of Bitcoin. So you should be very wary of that. And these are the 5 strategies that BlackRock can implement in order to gain control over Bitcoin. So again, I'm going to recap them: to buy Bitcoin miners, to gain control over their voting power, to buy up a large percentage of the Bitcoin supply, to acquire major exchanges, to exert its influence and to shape the regulatory framework, and finally, to manipulate the market through news and media outlets. Now, the next question the main question that we're trying to answer in this video is, can BlackRock really kill Bitcoin? So here's my conclusion. Now, while BlackRock may try to exert influence through these strategies, the Bitcoin community is very resilient. And that is, of course, the biggest strength of the Bitcoin community. So the fundamentals of Bitcoin remain unchanged. Its decentralized nature make it very hard to completely control. And one example that I want to show you is this one. So last bull market, we saw that China completely banned Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin trading. So suddenly all Bitcoin miners were forced to shut down. And this didn't make Bitcoin weaker. In fact, it made Bitcoin a lot stronger. Here's a Forbes article stating that after China's Bitcoin mining ban, Bitcoin is actually stronger than ever. Why? Because the Bitcoin miners simply took their mining machines and moved them elsewhere, to Russia, to Kazakhstan, to Africa, to the United States. So it actually became more decentralized because of this, and Bitcoin came out a lot stronger. And you see, that is an analogy, or that's a great example, an historical case study of how the Bitcoin community keeps evolving and how it tends to keep better and better every time it gets attacked by government bodies, by banks, by media outlets. And that resilience makes it what it is today, an unstoppable power. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe that BlackRock will kill Bitcoin? Or are they really just embracing Bitcoin and are seeing it as a very positive asset to grow their own business? That's why maybe they've been announcing these Bitcoin spot ETFs, and that's why they've been very public about it. Or do you think it's all part of one big evil plan to control this asset class? I'm really curious. Now, that being said, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button so I know that you got good value out of it. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be posting videos regularly throughout this crypto market cycle to help you to get an edge in the market and to help you to make sense of all of the complex stuff that's currently going on in the market. All right, peace out. See you in the next one. Take care.